Welcome to the Enter the Mind podcast.
The most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind.
Why enter the mind? Because it's that room in your house that's been there all along that you've never gone into.
Well, now it's time to enter with two mind coaches dedicated to self-help and the thriving of all human beings.
I'm Kyra Carlin.
And I'm Robert Nelson.
Welcome to Enter the Mind.
In this week's episode, we'll be talking about positive self-talk. Kyra, how's it going this week?
It's going really well. I finally, when I tell you I've been making cookies since I first became vegan, this upcoming April will be 2 years. I finally found a good cookie recipe. So it's going pretty good.
What flavor, if I may ask?
Chocolate chip.
Right on.
How are you?
Vegan cookies. Yeah, I'm doing good. It's middle of the week, and I feel like I'm turning the corner this week into a superior mindset. And I know that beeping is going on in the background from where you are. So what we'll do is every time that beeps, that will be a reminder to me and for you if you want to come back to the center, to ground myself with the universe. It's a good reminder.
Good reminder, especially since it blinks every 3 minutes. So
there we go. That's a lot of connecting with the greater forces. Why don't you introduce the topic, because I think you had some context for us. Go ahead.
Okay, so I've always been a very confident child, even though I haven't always talked to myself the kindest in the past. And so the other day I was looking up videos on how to be confident just to see if I was doing it right, And this girl was talking about one of her things for self-confidence was talking to yourself kindly and how important it is. And she was talking about when you walk by and look at yourself in the mirror, your body or your face, and maybe in your forefrontal focus, you'll be like, oh, I'm so beautiful. But then deep down, you're like, oh, there's stretch marks, I'm flubby, I'm not skinny enough, blah, blah, blah. And the ones that are deep down, the thoughts that you don't entirely see, because most of the time you're just focusing on the ones in your forefrontal conscious. I just think it's really, really important to take notice of literally what you're saying about yourself underneath your forefrontal focus, because those ones that are hidden deep down are really the ones that are attracting all this sort of energy to you.
I think not all self-talk is actually in the form of words. I think a lot of times it's these thoughts or images and feelings, kind of like when you're in a dream state. When you're dreaming at night, you might have this general sense of something, right? It's kind of a feeling. It's oh, this is, I shouldn't be in this area or this neighborhood or something. In your dream, you might have a feeling like that. I think self-talk is not always when you say these complete statements to yourself, oh, I like the way I look, or I don't like the way I look. I think these, what you were getting at, these deeper levels, is just these sort of very millisecond impressions and reactions. Do you think that's fair to say?
I definitely do, because it's almost it's that first initial thing. We've been talking a lot about those first few minutes waking up in the morning, and those last few minutes of drifting off to sleep at night. And I feel if you wake up in the morning and you have these, you're not entirely like conscious yet, you're not entirely fully awake, so you could be waking up in the morning and thinking about yourself as this fat lazy blob because you're not waking up at 7 a.m. You know, like you decided to sleep until 8:30 or 9:30, and this whole time drifting on and off from sleep until from 7 a.m. to 9:30, you're thinking about yourself as this fat lazy blob, right? But then it's like the moment you actually open your eyes and get out of bed, you're like, oh, I'm feeling amazing. I feel so skinny. I feel so beautiful. I feel so smart. I'm going to kill today, right? But I'm not going to say that that doesn't matter, but I'm definitely going to say that, my girl, you have been laying in bed for the past 2.5 hours calling yourself a fat, lazy blob. Those few words of consciousness, they ain't gonna do much for you today. Okay, they can certainly, it's the laws of nature, they can definitely help you out in the future over an amount of time. But if they are helping you out in the future, that goal of what saying those things helping you out, like that, their goal is to get you to wake up and think these initial millisecond, like quick thoughts about yourself, like I am awesome, like I am feeling good, I am feeling skinny, I am feeling smart, I am feeling like today is the day, you know, like just to feel those millisecond things right when you wake up and right before you go to sleep.
Yeah, and I think it's also connected to the body, where very much in the spirit of Tony Robbins' teachings, you just do that power pose for 2 minutes, go like this, or the Superman pose with your hands on your hips. You know, and apparently research shows that it changes your internal chemistry, your body's chemistry. And I wonder if we should consider that a form of self-talk, because even though maybe you're not saying full sentences in your mind, your body is speaking to you. Go ahead. It looks like you have something.
That's really, really, really good. I love that you connected that, because you know how they say actions speak louder than words. So I love that. So yeah, like I think that could definitely be, you know, a form of self-talk, getting up in the morning and standing in a superhero pose, legitimately pretending that you're a superhero. Like that can have an extremely strong effect on what you do during your days. And like I can already feel it now. And I think it's because truthfully, actions speak louder than words. And since we've been taught that since we were like, what, 4 years old? I don't know how old, but most people have been taught that at a very young age. So I feel like since it's so deeply ingrained in our brains, it's like when we do an action, we're like, oh, actions speak louder than words. So it has a stronger effect on our subconscious mind.
Yeah, totally. I think it's kind of like acting. And there's this website called Masterclass where they have like very famous people, like celebrities, teach whatever their profession is. So they have, you know, Natalie Portman teaches an acting class, and I was watching the trailer for it, and it was really cool. It seemed really neat. And because she's never been formally trained, she said she never went to like acting school. She learned on her own, which is impressive. And she was saying that she had this one phrase where it's just like, she said, this is an exercise in imagination. And I was like, whoa, like it really strikes a chord with me. And I thought, you know what, it is imagination, because like, if you're going to be acting, I mean, how much closer can you get to like self-help and manifesting and creating a new self than actually playing a role in a 2-hour feature film, right? Where the audience is actually watching to see how well you play the role, and how well can they tell that you're acting, that it's fake, or do they actually really feel like you are that character? And and then a good actor, you know, gets into the role and they truly feel that role, right? And they do that through their imagination. I think there's gotta be self-help implications there for sure.
I definitely I think so. I think about that like all the time, like literally, like find out the character you want to be and goddamn play it. You know, it's like it's not that it's easy, but like it's not going to kill you to act as somebody that you want to act as. You know, like actors and actresses do it all the time. It's been you know, it's been proven that it's not going to kill them. Like I can understand was it Heath Ledger? Do I have the name wrong? Who killed himself?
The Joker? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so he killed himself. I can understand, but like okay, when are you ever going to play a role like that? Like I'm talking to like our viewers. Like, you know, don't be scared to be who you want to be. Okay, maybe don't play the role of Joker. You know, maybe in your everyday life you don't want to be the Joker. That's fine, but maybe you want to be someone who loves themselves unconditionally and is whole all by themselves and is popular and is influencing people. So, you know, I definitely think that acting is a really good thing.
So I think with the character of the Joker, it's certainly an extreme. And as you point out, his character was very like antisocial and evil, like did bad things to people. So I think we're fine as long as we don't play those characters, as long as we play a pro-social character. This is interesting. Like, go ahead.
Robert, what do you say to yourself when you wake up in the morning?
I usually say something like, damn it, is it 6 o'clock already? To be honest with you, but this morning, I'll tell you what my morning routine was though. After I wake up and I sit down and I drink some caffeine and I log my dreams, because that is self-talk that's going to carry with me through the day. Mm-hmm. And I need to be aware of it. Number 2, I write down my daily journal, like the 3 things I'm grateful for, which admittedly I should do more consistently. And then the last thing is I try to get a proper reference point. So this morning I was watching some clips from the Iraq War and some Navy SEAL documentaries from the History Channel, because it gives me a good reference point for entering my day. If I see sort of the worst case scenario, which is you could be in a foreign country with people trying to shoot you with grenade guns and IEDs, and you don't know if you're going to get home or not. That's sort of an extreme situation. If I have that as my context for the day, then any other obstacle that I encounter in the day seems, by contrast, a little bit more manageable. Mm-hmm. And that's all in addition to trying to just embody the toughness qualities that the Navy SEALs demonstrate. Toughness, the focus on the mission. Doesn't matter if you're tired, if you're sweaty, if it's 100 degrees out in Iraq, you have a mission to accomplish and you're going to get the job done. And so it's sort of like a priming for my day. And so is it always the form of self-talk? I mean, not always, but then when I was getting ready for the day and I was in the bathroom in front of the mirror, I think that's really a prime time and opportunity to really practice some stuff, because you'll say something in front of the mirror like I overcome any struggle today, or or even it could be like body image based, right? I have a strong body that I'm happy with or whatever. What's interesting is that when you say it to the mirror, at least what I notice is like, I scan my body for disagreements with what I'm saying. Like if I make a statement in the mirror and then part of me tenses or part of me feels uncomfortable, I need to investigate that, right? Mm-hmm. It's no different than let's say you're the CEO of a company, right? And you're giving a presentation to all your employees and you're like, 2030, this is where our company is going to be. And you look at the crowd and you see one or two employees that are like, like to see that happen. But you spot them, you spot them, right? You have to detect them because those people are going to sabotage the whole thing and they work, right? So that's how I do it with the mind is I'm like monitoring to see where are the rebels in my mind? Where are the characters that are not supporting my mission, that are not in my best interest? Where are those voices? And those voices snuck in early, many years ago, right? As you grow up through childhood, through just having interactions with society, adopting society's thoughts and stuff as your own. And but those people, those characters in the mind cannot go undetected, unexamined. They have to be like regularly what do you call inspected, I guess.
I like the points that you're making for our listeners. I think that they're definitely excuse me. I think that they're going to see a different way to be able to talk themselves positively throughout the day, especially with your bit about you watch war shows in the morning and you're like, well, it could be worse, I could be there, but I'm doing this. And not only that, but it's like, if they have the strength to pull through all of that, then I can have the strength to pull through what's going on in my day, no matter what is going on. And not only that, but I feel like, success and like mental success, they're two completely different things. And like, I have met some very well-off people, some very well-off, very rich, very wealthy, very business successful people, but their minds clearly don't talk about themselves nice enough for them to appear as somebody who is kind and caring and loving and mentally developed. I feel like the group of friends that I grew up in, I seriously feel like they have some of the best hearts I've ever seen in my entire life. Some of the best hearts. They are so caring for their friends. They're just so caring. When they care about somebody, they care. And they may not be business-wise developed yet in their lives, but when I talk to them about it, I personally think that there are some people's missions in life that God is like, yeah, okay, you can get rich, but you have one of the best hearts that I have ever fucking seen. So I'm gonna make sure that on your way to getting rich, that you keep that heart. And which is why it might take longer for people who have a better heart to get rich and wealthy than for people that it takes who, I don't know. It's not that they don't have a good heart, but I don't think that they talk to themselves kind enough, like I said, to be able to connect with people or to talk themselves into having good relationships with people.
This is giving me a lot of ideas, but I want to make sure I stay on topic for today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're saying that you've seen people who have very good hearts, but maybe the path to so-called material success is a longer path for them than others because of the way they talk to themselves.
Yes. And I'm like, I've seen it so many times, like so many times. And I think that it might have to do with a mindset and like a sort of self-talk pattern that has like rooted from when people were young, because like a lot of people think like, oh, if you're poor, you have a good heart. If you're rich, you're evil. You know, that's just a stupid fucking thing that everyone made up, but it's really not true. You can be rich with a good heart and you can be poor with a fucking shit heart. You know, so I just think that people who have already had their business success in all of their wealth, not all of them, but some of them don't talk to themselves kindly enough to I guess develop a better relationship with their heart and with other people and with their spirituality and with the kinds of things that they want in life and why, etc. And you know, and not only that, but even some people who are poor, they don't talk to themselves nicely enough in order for them to get rich and get what they want. So like, yeah, they may have a good heart and they may, you know, have great friends and everything and a great circle and people who care about them, but you will never be able to move on to that next mental and physical stage in your life, rich or poor, if you're not talking to yourself and boosting yourself up. Like somebody rich, somebody that's super rich could be sitting there saying to themselves, like low key, very low key, you know, walk past themselves and get that feeling like, oh, I'm a piece of shit, right? Like I'm just a piece of fucking shit, you know? And some poor people could walk by the mirror with a great heart and everything, but once they walk by the mirror, they could be like, I'm a piece of shit, you know? And sometimes you can't always tell, but you can definitely tell. You can definitely tell just by having like a 5-minute conversation with somebody where they're at in their life and the way that they talk to themselves. So I don't know, positive self-talk, man. You need it. You fucking need it.
Very true. Very true. Let's see. Looking at the time, I think we should do our last round of comments. So it's leading me to think about society like as a one large tribe, and sort of the social dynamics. I don't know if you could even say tribal dynamics, societal dynamics, I guess, of so if people try to rise up in the ranks of the social hierarchy, then that's really, it's relevant to everyone else in that hierarchy or in that society. They're kind of aware of that. Oh, so-and-so is trying to rise up versus so-and-so is just staying in their position on the totem pole. Person that stays in their position is not a threat to anybody else, versus someone who's trying to rise is a potential threat, right? You don't know. It's like, but that's why politicians campaign, and that's why they go around and they shake people's hands and they you know hold the babies from, you know, they're people who might vote for them. They kiss the baby and they're like, oh, nice baby, and they're like, right, because they want the potential voters to think like, oh, this politician is such a nice guy, you know, he held my child, my baby, and this and that, right? So it's this weird sort of, I mean, but that's just human social dynamics that we've inherited throughout evolution. And chimpanzees do the same thing. When one is trying to take the alpha male position in chimpanzee society, it actually goes around and like spends more touch time with the babies of all of the members of the chimpanzee tribe. Very, very similar to the way that politicians campaign. Now, that's sort of like an anthropology, like side note, I guess. So so how this all ties into self-talk is, I think that, well, it'll have to be like a to be continued, I think, because I want to draw a connection between the societal stuff and the self-talk. But you're right, like there's one dimension where of like material success, high or low. Then there's another dimension of like having a good heart, great heart at the top, or being very evil and antisocial and, no heart at the bottom, right? So these different dimensions. And then there's self-talk, really good self-talk, and then, very negative self-talk. And I think what I'll have to do is, well, in this, maybe in another episode, we can try to draw more connections throughout all of those, because that's kind of where my mind is going. But what about you?
I think it's like interesting to see like politicians like fight for what they want, etc. Like maybe even one day I'll fucking go to one of them shits, so I can see firsthand how you playing everybody. Because I just feel like, okay, so like politicians can go up and like hold babies and shit, but like I most likely don't want you holding my baby. I don't know who the fuck you are, number one. Number two, do you really want to hold my baby? Do you really think that my baby is cute? Or are you just doing it for selfish reasons? Are you just, when you're holding my baby underneath, are you going to be saying to yourself, got the baby in my arms, she's going to vote for me? Like, is that what you're going to be saying in your mind when I'm letting you hold my baby? Like, if you're going to hold my baby, I want you to hold my baby because you want to hold my baby. I don't want you to hold my baby because you're like, this will look great on my image and maybe this woman will vote for me, and you can smell that on people. It's not hidden. You can smell it, so I don't know. I feel like that the voices that go on in our minds all day long, like other people can smell them, other people can see them. And it's quite embarrassing sometimes, truthfully, because, when you're doing so good in life, but then you get around people and you're like, fuck, like anxiety comes in or whatever. And then like they can smell it and everything. But I think that, I think that we should definitely do a part 2 to this episode, because I think that we cracked open like a bunch that's kind of like on the outside, maybe like just like outside circumstances that can keep our minds rolling in a upward spiral throughout the day. Not only that, but also different situations in which you really need to be checking what somebody says to themselves, what that voice is saying inside of somebody else's head before you get too close with them. Because we all know that due to the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, we will get that energy. So make sure that you're watching how somebody talks to themselves, etc. But I mean, other than that, thanks for listening. And Robert, do you want to make a part 2 sometime? Because I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have to address sort of almost the same way that you can be suspicious of someone's intentions, like a politician's intentions. I think we should also be suspicious of the intentions of the voices in our own minds. And that is a big part of monitoring this self-talk thing. It's sort of this, I think this is a deeper look into self-talk. It's not like, oh, how to tell yourself that you're great. It's more of like, let's analyze the social dynamics of the various voices in your head that make up your self-talk.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, a much more richer and a more in-depth look at self-talk. So definitely, I think we should, maybe even next week, who knows. Do you have any events coming up or things you want to promote?
Not entirely. If you do want to check out some testimonials on my Instagram business page, my 5-week course is actually going pretty well with a few women. So you can go ahead and check that out at Try Tragedy. It's a 5-week online course. It's really thorough, really thorough, really gets into those deep parts of your mind and your existence. And it's just 10 steps to a new you.
That sounds dope. And I myself will be doing a social confidence Q&A this Saturday, 11 o'clock California time. If you want the link, then just send me a message on Instagram or Facebook at Existence First. And like I said, it's a Q&A. So this is for people who are trying to raise their level of social confidence, and particularly introverts, but it could be for anybody. And it will be people you have to bring your own examples of situations and interactions that you experienced recently, and then we'll dissect and debrief them. And that's the strategy I used for many years to learn what I learned. So, all right, well, we'll see everybody in next week's episode.
How exciting. You guys got to go to that.
And thank you, Kyra. Yeah, and until then, if you have comments for future episodes, put them, or ideas, then put them in the comments below, and we'll see you next week.